My name is Jonathan Keim. I purchased the Charleston, Illinois franchise. I just completed 2 weeks of training here at Honest Abe, and I'm looking forward to going out on my own now, but with still a lot of support and help from the folks here at Honest Abe. I worked for a civil engineering firm off and on for 15 years. Had always been in the civil engineering industry. I was a licensed professional engineer, and about halfway into those 15 years figured out that I wanted to be my own boss at some point. So I'd lived in the area, so I'd always known the Honest Abe brand to a certain extent. So I was somewhat familiar, and I always kind of admired their commercials and their advertising. So once I kind of started digging in, it seemed to make sense pretty quick to me. Saw a large opportunity, a great opportunity in a market that I never thought I'd ever be in. So it was an easy decision for me to make.
Talk to us about what it's like going home and saying, hey, I'm going to quit my well-paying engineering job.
Yeah, so my wife has come to expect me to come home and say things like that on a semi-regular basis, just because she knows I've like I said, I quickly figured out that I didn't want to be an employee for the rest of my life. I wanted to gain some freedom and be my own boss. So she had I would come home with whatever you want to call them, grand schemes. I won't say often, but often enough that she's like, okay, yeah, well, whatever. So I think initially when she heard that I was talking with Honest Abe about a franchise, she's, okay, yeah, that's great. When I scheduled a meeting with her and I at Honest Abe at headquarters, she's like, why am I going? What do I need to be here for? Well, I want you to see what I see. So it was an easy decision for me to make. I made that quickly after my discovery day. I had kind of made that decision internally that it was something I wanted to do. At that point, it was just going through the motions of how we get there and getting her buy-in. So it's obviously not easy to quit. Quite frankly, a six-figure job to go to work for myself in something that maybe I'm not well versed in, and it's scary. It's scary, but I think a lot of other folks have said before me, it's the more you get into it, the more you're like, this was the right decision, and while scary, exciting. So, my grandpa was a carpenter, built houses, did those kinds of things. So I grew up with him. I loved going to work with him. So I had done some roofing, done some construction, and then of course just in my profession as a civil engineer, there was a lot of construction involved in that, and I attribute a lot of that to him. Growing up with him, I think kind of pushed me into that field really. I have two boys, 11 and 7, Liam and Maddox. Wife Leslie. Leslie was a math teacher for 15 plus years, and up and decided a few years ago that she was done with that and wanted to be a nurse. So she went back to school to be a nurse, did that. So that has kind of changed, and that kind of plays into the whole Honest Abe thing, because we were still trying to figure that transition out when this all came about. So that's added a second layer. But as far as the day-to-day in the Keim household, it's busy. There's not a dull moment. Lots of activities, baseball games, soccer, basketball.
That may not be the perfect time to do this, right?
No, but there's no perfect time. In my short time here on Earth, I've figured out that if you're waiting for the right time, you'll never do it. So I've tried to wait for the right time for a lot of different things, and they never came to fruition because you spend your time waiting for that perfect moment. Honestly, after kind of hearing that they were franchising, even before my discovery day, I'm like, so I looked them up on YouTube, watched every single Honest Abe YouTube video, whether it was the franchise channel or just Honest Abe Terre Haute. and started to get a sense of, you know, who Kevin was and what he was all about, and Jason, you know, what they were doing and kind of their grand picture of things. And I knew pretty quickly that that was something I wanted to be a part of. I didn't care really what it was, whether it was roofing, whether it was, you know, I've always said I'd sell underwear if it made sense, but you know, just being a part of this group of people is life-changing. I mean, being around people who have grand dreams and ambition. I've been in situations where I was around a lot of people who had, you know, no real dreams, and it was pretty depressing. And it brought me down to their level. So to be a part of that is pretty cool. So pretty quickly, I knew I wanted to know what was going on here. So over the years, like I kind of alluded to before, I've reviewed a lot of different opportunities, a lot of franchises, a lot of different, you know, businesses to own and those kinds of things, a lot of different ideas. This was the first one that made sense right from the get-go. So for anybody contemplating that, you know, I think it's a no-brainer. May not feel like that, you know, and it's not all rainbows and unicorns, but you know, it makes the most sense in all the ways. It checks all the boxes, I guess you could say. So I'm excited to get out and really dig into the day-to-day of the business, knowing that I've got the support of everybody here. You know, everybody's only a text or a phone call away, and the comfort of, you know, having all the tools and manuals and online training. That all is very comforting to know that's there at your fingertips at any time.